Tropical storm Dexter has formed and several other potential tropical development areas to look at. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you for the latest video. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, Tropical Storm Dexter has developed just north of Bermuda. We'll look at what's happening with it and where it's moving. Other development areas are likely over the next couple of days, and then we'll deep dive into the tropics as we get through the early and mid part of August and just talk about how active it could get across our area. As we get started, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They are hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season. A storm moves into your area. You get property damage of any kind. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Please go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, want to hear from the Meteo Mundo weather community. Let me know in the comment section below what's been going on in your area. We'll start off with a broad look at the surface analysis. Again, off of this frontal boundary, we got Tropical Storm Dexter to develop. Was really looking impressive late yesterday, and Sunday night, the Hurricane Center pulled the trigger on it. We'll talk about what's going on with that. But along this boundary, we could get another potential tropical development area later in the week. Our very robust tropical wave has now emerged off the West African coast, and this is the one that carries at least a 50% chance of tropical development as it gets into the South Central Atlantic. We'll start with those three areas and begin with Tropical Storm Dexter. Now, Dexter has winds of 45 miles an hour at this point in time, moving off to the northeast at around 10 miles an hour. Looks okay on satellite imagery. Again, this is the kind of storm that we want. It developed far enough away from the United States East Coast where all we got there was some rough sea conditions up to the New England coastline. And then for our friends in Bermuda, yeah, we're getting some squally weather and a couple of showers and storms kind of spinning in, especially with this band right now. But we're not going to get direct tropical storm impact, so we can handle that. Going to bring on the live temperature there, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Just checking out if there's been any wind gust in the last couple of hours in Bermuda, and we haven't. Now, there'll be some thunderstorm advisories and some small craft warnings out there as Dexter pulls away, but the good news is when I show you the track, this is moving into the exposed waters of the northern Atlantic away from any landmass and will weaken as it does so. But again, for the record, we now have the fourth named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. So you can cross Dexter off the list. Aaron will be the next one, the E named storm. Ferdinand will be behind that one. And both of those potentially could develop within the next 7 days. Here's the reason why. We'll go back out to the broad view and spin over all the way to the eastern side of the Atlantic, where again we have a tropical wave emerging off of the West African coastline. This is the first one that's not going to have to be battling so much of the Saharan air layer. Now, there is some drier air north and west of it, but you can see the moisture content north of the developing wave, which has been the kind of clogging and cutting off of any development so far this hurricane season, is non-existent. We actually have moisture-laden air in green well north of it. So this should have a very easy journey with low wind shear and low dry air to suck into it to allow it to continue to develop and really become the first wave to monitor as it traverses the main development region of the Atlantic Basin. You can clearly see where the Hurricane Center is highlighting the potential development area down the road, mid to late week. Please note that this development area has snuck a little bit farther south and west, slightly closer to the Lesser Antilles, Leeward Islands in general, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. So we'll look at that in the models, but anytime you have a potential development area east of the islands, even if it's trying to show a northerly turn, you have to monitor the situation very closely. We'll touch more on that, I promise you, coming up. A non-tropical spin here off of the eastern side of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos is going to bring some showers and storms to this area, but down the road, not in the short term, but maybe in that 3 to 5 day time frame, a 30% chance of tropical development here. Now, again, this is off of the same decaying frontal boundary that produced Tropical Storm Dexter. You can see it right now. Once it gets a little farther south and then stalls out, we could get some energy there. And I'll show you the models coming up. It's not just that area, but especially the European model has development potentially even a little bit farther off towards the south. It's a really solid trough line, by the way, in the central side of the Gulf that also bears watching. Friends, you get the idea. It's that time of the year. It's getting active out there. and it's going to stay active and probably even more activity through the month. So that's kind of the overall view of what's happening tropically today. We're going to get into the models of those tropical outputs coming up in just a minute. Now I want to touch on what's been happening in our area. We'll start off in the Bahamas. What's been going on this Monday? Again, few showers and thunderstorms beginning to develop. Winds are turning more out of the south in these areas. Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, the Abacos, Bimini, Andros, Nassau, New Providence, and Eleuthera, and some spotty rain and storms beginning to develop. I'll bring on the composite radar here out of the Miami area, and you can see some of the thunderstorms beginning to fire up here late on this Monday afternoon. Throw on the wind gusts just to see if we've had any from time to time. A few in the southeast sides of Florida. No big winds here, but again, I would expect there to be at least some scattered rain in the northern northwest Bahamas. Now look, the other story in the islands right now is the heat. The feels like temperatures have been in the triple digits in most areas. There is a heat advisory for the Bahamas right now. If you live there, just be very cautious in the afternoon hours. Might be a couple of cooling thunderstorms to help things out from time to time. But again, feels like temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, we're going to see some showers and storms developing. Look at Grand Turk. I think there feels like temperature early in the day was about 108. That is rough. Nice thunderstorm rolled across the Acklands. A couple of spotty showers towards Mayaguana, then on over towards places like Long Island, Rum Key, San Salvador, and Exuma. Now, if you guys know, we have our live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. There's Long Island. There's Long Island live on this late Monday. We're starting to see some of the clouds really billowing up here in the central and southeast Bahamas, and we're going to get some passing showers become a little bit more prominent late in this afternoon into the early evening hours. So that's the live look with a fairly overcast sky there in Long Island and some rain on the way. Again, farther north right now until you get up to like the Abacos and the Grand Bahama area, it's a little bit drier. So it's a beautiful shot from Governor's Harbor here in central Eleuthera. Again, a bit of a breeze, but the big story today has also been the heat in the area. We'll go out to the broad perspective again. Healthy thunderstorms developing over Cuba right now. I'm going to go back over to the wind gusts on this product here, and then we'll just keep an eye out for any thunderstorms that are producing some gusty winds. And again, very high rain chances, Santiago de Cuba on over towards Cienfuegos and Havana. We're trying to kick up a couple of showers and an isolated thunderstorm over the Cayman Islands, but it's pretty spotty here late on this Monday. But an opportunity that Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac can catch a couple of showers and storms. My friends in Jamaica, once again, thunderstorms are more prolific on the western side of the island. Still trying to get a couple of showers here near Kingston. And some of you in the comment section below in yesterday's video, let me know that you had some good rain around the Kingston area. Well, a couple of lightning strikes just in northwest of there in the Halfway Tree area, Spanish Town and Linstead. Still going to be more concentrated late in the day again, especially Westmoreland and Hanover parishes on over towards St. James, so Montego Bay, Lucia areas. Again, in just the past couple of frames here, basically the last 30 minutes, look at that lightning count really go up. It's a good thunderstorm there on the northwest coastline. There is the strong wind and large wave advisory back in effect for all of the coastal waters and the offshore waters of the southern coastline through tomorrow here in Jamaica. Healthy downpours will likely come along for the ride. We'll swing back over to the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Thunderstorms developing at the hour here. Nice wind in Santiago de los Caballeros earlier in the day. Could see some higher rain totals on the far eastern side of Haiti and the far west central sides of the Dominican Republic late today. A couple of areas are under flood advisories. Again, higher terrain in these spots, so it comes down to the valleys and the low-lying areas with some rushing water, and you can get some fast flooding because of that. So if you live in those areas that are flood prone, when you have the rain and the higher terrain, keep an eye out for that. Thunderstorms developing in interior sections just north of Santo Domingo and south of the Samana Peninsula. Thunderstorms are beginning to flare up at the southwest sides of Puerto Rico at the hour from the Yauco, Ponce area. Again, solid winds here, 30+ mile-an-hour winds from time to time. I'm going to switch over to the visible satellite imagery. Now look, this is an area that will actually begin to dry out a little bit, especially beginning tomorrow and maybe Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Just lower rain chances from Puerto Rico off towards the east. The winds will continue to be a big story across the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John. Again, a fresh nearly 30-mile-an-hour breeze this afternoon. San Juan at 30. By the way, the heat advisories are still in effect here as well. Look at these feels-like temperatures before the storms roll in. San Juan, Ponce, Fajardo areas, 100 to 105. Same thing for Roadtown, Tortola, St. Thomas, and St. Croix. Rough afternoons if you don't get the thunderstorms to cool things off, and that will still be the story here over the next couple of afternoons as well. All right, back over to, that's the dew point, back over to the wind gusts, and we'll swing on over towards the Lesser Antilles. Again, at this point in time, we've seen the axis of our last tropical wave move off towards the west. So we are in for a couple of drier days here. Nice wind in St. Bart's over 32 miles an hour. Very shallow tropical moisture in play. I know from some of you said from time to time it gets pretty darn hot in this environment, so keep that in mind. You know, avoid the outdoor hours in the afternoon. Had a couple of passing showers in Antigua and Montserrat earlier. Again, it's not island wide, but we saw some of that. If you live on Montserrat, you kind of one of those showers, let me know. Hot day for Guadeloupe, Dominica, and Martinique. And these last couple of frames, we're just trying to get a couple of thunderstorms to develop at the hour here as we get down towards the Windward Islands. Again, it's sparse. That's the bottom line. Many dry hours and locations. Now back up to St. Lucia. It's been a beautiful afternoon. Again, if I bring on the visible satellite imagery, you'll see we've had some cloud coverage here. Of course, that's one of our other live camera locations. Kind of, there's a little bit of hazy sun, not really a Saharan air layer, but we're trying to break through some of these clouds with some of that filtered sunshine for today in the Corinth area on the western side of St. Lucia. But otherwise, it's a beautiful afternoon. Very, very calm winds there at the present time. We'll go on over to the west. Our friends in Nueva Esparta could see a couple of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. The ABC Islands, once again, a fairly hot day, right around 90 Fahrenheit for a daytime high. That's about 32 degrees Celsius. Let's check out our winds. A lot of you have jumped in the comments who live in the ABC Islands and said, Rusty, it's been just so darn windy lately. What else is new, unfortunately? Again, Oranjestad, Aruba, nearly 40-mile-an-hour gust. Willemstad, Curaçao, not far behind. Not a wind gust reported in Bonaire, but it's been breezy across the ABC Islands on this Monday. Another absolutely picture-perfect shot from Oranjestad. Live look again on this late Monday. You can see the palm trees are just dancing with that breeze. Certainly a ripple there in the coastal waters, but it is an absolutely fantastic shot for the Calabash Cove Resort and, oh, sorry, this is going to be from the Costa Linda Resort and Beach Resort there in Oranjestad. Beautiful afternoon. I don't care what resort it is, get me there. It's an absolutely fantastic shot, but we appreciate that one from the Costa Linda Beach Resort. Okay, swinging our way off to the west. Let's talk about areas that are pretty active for today, and that is going to be back into portions of Central America. Bring back on the enhanced satellite imagery. This again is where we have our monsoon trough and a tropical wave. In accordance, there is also a very high likelihood we're going to get another tropical development area here in the East Pacific, which is going to continue to feed moisture from the Honduras area, Nicaragua, especially Costa Rica and Panama. Portions of Costa Rica and Panama are under flood advisories and warnings for today because of some excessive rainfall, maybe up to 100 millimeters in a couple of spots or 4 inches of rain. Good breeze off the shoreline there of Nicaragua and Honduras, and the thunderstorms are beginning to break out right now. Northern Honduras, San Pedro La Ceiba, Roatan, Utila, Guanaja across the Bay Islands, swinging into coastal Guatemala and Belize, and this will all just kind of billow up, become more widespread, and work its way farther north, especially into the southern sides of Quintana Roo. Now, we're still going to have some thunderstorms in Cancun and Cozumel, near Tulum and the Merida areas. You notice there's a little trough line right here. That's just another area of lift in the atmosphere. So it's from the Merida area towards Campeche, we'd expect more thunderstorm activity late today and tomorrow, but overall still a little bit more in the way farther south that you go into this part of the western side of our area. So that's what's happening across the Caribbean and the Bahamas for today. Let's get into our forecast. And as we do so, I appreciate you guys taking a quick second and liking the video. It's a really simple way to help support the channel. Please subscribe if you want to join this fantastic community. We have a great one. Thank you for sharing the channel with your family and friends. Appreciate those who find other ways to support the channel as well. Our memberships are open. I did a member exclusive short video just before I came on and recorded this long form video. So appreciate those Team MM members there. That's just $2.99 a month. Our supporter tier is just 99 cents a month. So now, let's break down what's going to be happening tropically and locally in our area. So I'm going to swing over. Got a lot of different models to show you guys. The bottom line is everything that I have been looking at here over the past several days just continues to hint or signal at signs of higher likelihood of tropical activity here as we get deeper into August. We'll start off with the reflectivity from the GFS model. I'm going to take this out about 10 days. We'll go out to the 13th. Why not, right? So again, we're not looking so far down the road, but there's a couple of things in that kind of August 8th and 9th through the 14th time frame that I want to highlight for you guys. First thing I'm going to do, we'll leave on our areas of potential development here to begin with. I'll take those off here and I'll show you why in a second. But first things first, we'll begin with what the GFS model has with this system. And the first thing I need to do here is drop on our model timeline so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, so again, as we get towards the next few days, there is the possibility that this tropical wave could develop. Now, that more than likely won't happen until the end of the week or towards the weekend. Now, the GFS, it doesn't look extremely robust, does it? As a matter of fact, it looks pretty darn weak. The European model is a little bit more stout with this, but the more interesting part of this is that the GFS model is farther south and west and closer to the Lesser Antilles with whatever this becomes. Now, again, this is the deterministic run of the GFS model. Some of the other ensemble members of the GFS have it stronger but have it farther away. But as I have always mentioned for the couple of years we've been on this channel, is that any type of disturbance or potential development area east of us always bears watching until it either passes across their area or moves up to the north. And so as we get to about 6 days out into a week out, the GFS model has whatever that becomes moving over the Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands in particular, and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And it actually gets even a little bit stronger as it gets towards the Turks and Caicos and the Dominican Republic. So this is why we always have to watch out for that. Now, on the heels of that, the Hurricane Center's not even talking about it yet, but there's yet another fairly robust tropical wave behind this one that would also bear some watching as well. And I promise you, the models are really beginning in that, August 10th timeframe and beyond, really beginning to pick things up. But for the short term, our 50% chance development area, the GFS deterministic, is farther south and west with some impacts to our areas and potentially holding it together as it gets up towards the Bahamas. It's a very interesting solution. It's down the road. We'll be monitoring. This 30% area, again, developing off of our kind of decaying trough and frontal boundary. The GFS doesn't have much that you can see right now. I will tell you that most of the models try and drive it north and west and back inland over the Georgia and Carolina coastline, but south winds would make for a very wet period across the Bahamas as it tries to get going. So again, on the actual reflectivity, you see it a little bit closer to North Carolina, South Carolina, but also look at that feed of south winds coming back in. So the central and northern Bahamas would be very wet. They wouldn't see a, depression or tropical storm sustained conditions, but they would be in for some wet weather towards the end of the week. If I switch over to the winds associated with this, and this is when I'm going to now take off the actual development area so it's just easier to see. So, look here again towards the coastline of the United States, you'll see a little bit of a wrap up here towards that, Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame. Nothing here until later in the period where, again, whatever that first disturbance is on the GFS model tries to hold together. You can see the evolution of it. Here it comes. Watch it again. Never fully wrap up, but whatever it is slips through the Leeward Islands, north side of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, northern sides of Hispaniola and Haiti, right over the Turks and Caicos and into the Bahamas. So it's a long track. The GFS at this point in time doesn't have it really becoming anything too strong, but that will bear watching over the next 7 to 10 days. So it's a much farther west solution than what the National Hurricane Center has. And again, closer to the United States Florida coastline, you can see a little bit of activity there, but nothing that is ever too prominent or too strong. Now, if I go back over to the big perspective, again, down the road, this would be, put this back into motion. So here comes wave number 1, moving through. Look behind it. Here comes the secondary wave coming off the West African coast right here. Yes, it doesn't look extremely impressive as of yet, but that's the next one to look at. If we take one more variable here, and that's going to be our spin in the atmosphere, which looks like this, and loop this up. And again, this is a composite of the spin in the atmosphere of the lower levels. You'll see, again, if we get close to the east coast of Florida, That's the spin right there, moving back towards the Carolina coastline, south winds. What's interesting is the GFS also has a mid-level spin coming through the Bahamas and the Florida Keys and into the Eastern Gulf, basically in accordance right along that trough line. So it actually spins up two different areas, maybe one mid-level, one not low level, but here is very clearly that next spin. And again, that is our 50% chance the development area. So the GFS doesn't have it fully wrapping up, but it's there, and you can see it survives. It survives right on through the areas that I just mentioned. So that's the next one there with the 50% development area. So let me get you back to the broad perspective. We'll reset the view. 30%, 50%, yellow, orange. Now let me show you the European model and the HWRF models. Let's look at the European model. That's Dexter moving away. Our 50% area, our 30% area, both flare up here on the European model, okay? This takes us to basically late Sunday night, early Monday, so just a little bit less than a week out. So Dexter's gone. This is going to be the 50% development area. The farthest southwest European ensemble member would bring impacts to the Leeward Islands. Most are well enough away, which is where the Hurricane Center has it pointed, where we would not have direct impacts, okay? But again, there are some ensemble members of the Euro that are closer to where the GFS deterministic is. This is the area in yellow. Again, maybe we get something as far west as the East Gulf, more than likely coming off of the United States East Coast, but hugging the coastline or coming just offshore, right? But both of them on the members do develop, at least some of them. So you could have Aaron and Ferdinand in the next 7 days. A close-up shot of the European model here, closer to the Bahamas, shows you again, there's the 30% area, and I let this run out to the 14th. Okay, and it is going to loop. So you're going to see the potential development areas here near Florida, but then watch that next wave coming in on the European model, and you get a couple of larger potential members, right? You get a few that are stronger off the east side of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, and you get multiple members bringing in a system into the Eastern Caribbean. And again, that's out to the morning of the 14th. The bottom line is everything that I've been seeing here behind the scenes just gets things activated in a very real way. This is the HWRF model showing Dexter pulling away. You'll see the area in the Atlantic Basin. You'll see the area developing here again off that trough line of Florida. So once Dexter pulls away, and again, no direct impacts to land, but you know, coastal sides of Canada and the New England coastline of the United States could have some larger waves and some rip currents. There's the spin right there, back on shore. And we're holding on to a little bit. Now, this model doesn't go as far out in time. I think it only takes us to late Saturday night, so not as much to glean on here, but that's another area, again, we'll be monitoring. And more than likely, that will just continue to further develop here as we roll through the rest of the week. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, friends, to come along for the ride is going to be some heavier rainfall totals as well. First of all, near the monsoon trough, Nicaragua, back down towards Costa Rica and Panama, portions of Quintana Roo, 4 to 6 inches of rain, 100 to 150 millimeters. Very heavy rainfall where we're seeing that potential development. But again, these south winds, Cuba, central, northern Bahamas, 4+ inches of rain in a lot of locations. If this develops, all that south wind will be extremely moisture laden. We could also see some heavier rain back into the Windward Islands. Now look, even ahead of this next disturbance, we have at least one more tropical wave that won't develop, but it'll come through and throw some more tropical moisture in play, so we can see some heavier rain there. But until we get the next system in, it will be a little bit drier through most of the greater Antilles and most of the lesser Antilles. Now look, boating conditions are going to be absolutely all over the place. We have the strong wind and large wave advisory for the coastline of Jamaica, especially the southern offshore waters. Obviously, if we get a spin up here, we're going to elevate the sea conditions with some long period swells in the eastern side of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. And you can see as we head towards, next week, again, that's what the GFS is holding together to try and freshen up the wind and the waves as that comes through. It would also bring some squally weather, even if it doesn't fully wrap up into a tropical depression or a tropical storm based on that current solution. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, it's myMediaMundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. And please remember that Lean Law is the sponsor of us here at Meteo Mundo. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Storm moves across your area, you get damage of any kind. They will walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Again, our western zones, wet and stormy the next couple of days, several different tropical waves to monitor, and I'll keep a very close eye on it for you here. Appreciate the support. Have a great one. I'm back tomorrow right here at Meteo Mundo.